Hello, and welcome to the Anything Appalachia podcast, produced by Germain Media. In each episode, we wander up and down the hills and hollers of old Appalachia, talking about its unique history, culture, and even some of the important issues facing it today. Please welcome our hosts, Scott Ballard and Kelly Germain.
Hello and welcome to a little thing that we like to call
Anything Appalachia,
produced by
Germain Media.
I'm Scott Ballard, your host. With us off camera, as always, our producer and director of sound engineering, Whispering Tristan Ham.
Hey, Tristan. You looked at me like, what are you doing? We're going to get a camera on him.
Yeah. And so with me, as always, El Presidente, the guru of Germain Media, Kelly St. Germain. And in our Anything Appalachia podcast, we go to the Jumpingoff Place after we get a review of where we are with Germain Media. We talk about something that we can disagree on amiably.
Sometimes.
And then a word from our sponsor. We have our See and Say segment, and then a question from you, our audience, and we just take it from there. So as we always do, we begin with where are we now, what's going on today with Germain Media.
Well, the big thing this week, Scott, is trying to build up our social media profiles. I mean, you know, we started on Facebook, I guess, just about 3 years ago, and we've expanded to Pinterest and YouTube and Vimeo, and Instagram has become really popular for us. We're really trying to do that. And, you know, I don't want to post the same thing on every media. So I encourage everybody to go subscribe to these different channels, because a lot of times we'll put, you know, a picture on Instagram that you don't see on Facebook. So
well,
you really need to
exclusivity.
To join everything.
Okay. Join everything.
Join everything. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You'll get a reminder when we post.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about subscribing.
Okay.
And we put a lot of stuff up there, you know, all the time that, you know, a lot of little videos. We're trying to do, you know, 10 to 20 to 30 second little videos of different places that we go and see. And they're just, you know, easy to produce, and people seem to really like them. So check them out.
I tell you what, it's not your father's career, or it's not your dad's Buick anymore. I mean, when it comes to promoting things and getting the word out, the traditional sources are still there, but it's an and. It's not an or anymore.
It's a whole new world.
It's a whole new world.
It's a whole new world. And things that we're doing here at Germain Media, you know, in terms of technology, wasn't possible 10 years ago. You had to be in a big movie studio in California. And now in our little studio right here in the heart of Appalachia in Jefferson, North Carolina, you know, we can do a lot of really cool things.
Yeah, filming on an iPhone. All right, so moving on to the Jumpingoff Place. The Jumpingoff Place takes us, where does it take us today?
Well, we are going to go over the ridge a little bit to Avery County, North Carolina, and we are going to explore a connection that not many people know about with Andrew Jackson.
You know, you've heard it before. It's a small world. And it's where there's 1 or 2 degrees of separation from you and some major event or a famous person. And in this case, it's no different. If you've been down 19E from Elk Park, North Carolina, towards the Tennessee line, you've passed, without even knowing it probably.
Yeah, hidden cemetery up on the hill, close to the road, but in a grove of trees. It's called the Peter HARDIN Cemetery.
That's correct.
And a shout out to Tense Banks from Avery County who took us there.
That's right. And I've been down that road hundreds of times.
And never knew it was there.
Yeah. So Peter HARDIN and the connection with Andrew Jackson. Let's go back, if you will, come with me to about 1814.
Picture, if you will.
If you will. A river in Alabama. It's called Horseshoe Bend. And the Creek Indians, this was the last stand of the Creek Indian tribe in Alabama. General Andrew Jackson at the time, this is sort of part of the War of 1812, was told to wipe out the Creeks. And he, you know, Jackson was an Indian fighter. He did not have a lot of empathy or
sympathy or anything
for Indians.
He was a fighting man.
And so they cornered this Creek tribe, and well, it was a massacre.
It was.
They wiped them out
to a man, almost,
and women and children.
Yeah.
So, as the fog of this battle is lifting, as the smoke is clearing, and the General Jackson's troops are coming onto the field of battle, there's a boy. who's still alive.
Standing all alone.
There's a boy. And, the adrenaline's gone. You probably can't even stand the thought of more killing or more destruction. Yeah. So one of his lieutenants, one of Andrew Jackson's lieutenants, picks up the boy, puts him on his horse, takes him back to Tennessee, and raises this Creek Indian boy. And so as he gets older, he falls in love with and has a child with a slave girl, a neighbor slave girl, and that child is Peter Hardin.
Peter Hardin. So
he gets...
How did he get to Avery County from that? There was over near Knoxville, I believe.
Right. He was sold.
He was sold. And so he was as the child of the slave girl, he became the property of the slave girl's owners. I mean, it was the time of our history. That's just, unfortunately, that's the way things worked. And so the owners of the Cranberry iron mine bought Peter for the equivalent today of $3,000. Yeah. And so what they had him doing was riding steering a 4-horse wagon of pig iron from the Cranberry iron mine down to Linville to a Confederate rifle barrel plant where they were creating rifle barrels for the Confederacy. Exactly.
And that's dodging bushwhackers and everything else down those rutted roads.
Can you imagine a young boy being entrusted with that responsibility today? It's an unbelievable story.
Well, after the Civil War, and emancipation, he decided to stay. And part of that had probably to do with lovely Miss Charity Greenlee, whom he married, and they ran the commissary for the Cranberry Iron Mine and also the Cranberry Hotel.
The Cranberry Hotel.
And
the only known picture of Peter Hardin, and I wish we could find some more. I feel like they got to be out there. But the only known one shows what we think to be him and his wife, along with a couple other people, on the front porch of that old log hotel.
Right there by the mine.
Yeah.
And so after the mine kind of played out, if you will, then the owners of the mine left and went down the mountain, and they gave Peter a few hundred acres. They just left and gave him so he became a substantial landholder in what became Avery County.
Yeah. And not only did that, and we're going to go past the producer because this is such a good story, but after, during that time period, he became the postmaster.
Until
the authorities discovered he could not read.
He was illiterate. So
the answer was his wife. His wife was able to read, and unbelievable in that day and time, they appointed her, and I think she was the first African-American postmistress in the state of North Carolina. Might have been the first woman, period. I'm not sure.
Right.
But what a remarkable story.
And the lady postmasters actually frown on the term postmistress, just so you know.
Oh, okay. All right. Postmaster?
Right, lady postmaster.
Oh, I learn something every day.
Etiquette. It's all etiquette.
And, the stories, Peter and his wife had an amazing reputation in that community. I mean, we've heard so many people talk about, their grandparents knew Peter and his wife and the strong feelings they felt for him. And I think he died when he was really old, in his late 80s or even in 90s?
He was actually late 70s, almost 80. He was tromping the haystack.
Who out there knows what that means? Tromping the haystack.
So back in the day, before there were bales of hay, they would make a big stack, and to make it sort of compact, you would get up on it.
Yep, and pack it down around a pole. And evidently, they could get up 10, 12, 14 feet tall.
He fell off the haystack.
That's going with your boots on.
That's right. So shout out to Peter Hardin.
Peter Hardin.
A great story.
And if you ever have a chance to visit the little slave cemetery where he's buried, it is well worth the trip.
A little overgrown, sadly.
A little overgrown, yeah, very sadly. But,
his headstone is a
huge arrowhead-shaped rock that tradition has that he picked out. And we don't know if that's a kind of a shout out or a throwback to his Indian heritage. You would certainly think so.
Had to be.
But it's an impressive stone.
Excellent. So, moving on, we jumped off and
boy, we went running a long ways.
So now we've got them's fighting words, and so we bring out the hook fist, and we're going to try to keep it fairly civil this time because we're going to talk about. We're going to argue who's got the best, or what is the best old time hymn?
It's kind of hard to have a knockdown, drag out fight when we're discussing
That's
hymns.
right. That's right. We could get in a lot of trouble.
It's not like cake versus cobbler.
No, but we have to take Amazing Grace off the board because that's everybody's number one, right?
It is. I mean, but I'm sorry to say, I know in our production meeting we talked about taking that off the board. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to do it. There's so many great hymns, and I'm one of those people that loves old time traditional hymns. Honestly, I much prefer them to modern music. I just think, especially sung a cappella, you can really have church.
Why is that? Because praise and worship is about getting everybody up on their feet, singing. But why are the old time hymns more meaningful to you?
I think just the words, the spirit of reverence that's in them, the tradition, the knowing that I'm singing a song that my father sang, that my grandfather sang.
It ties you to those.
It does.
Generations.
It's a way to,
Right.
It really is a way. Just
the
like
faith of our fathers. I love
the faith
that.
of our fathers.
faith of
It's
our
a way to reach back in time and be in the same moment as your ancestors.
I feel the same way about riding a horse.
Yeah, no comment. I enjoy my truck.
I feel the same way. I get connected to my ancestors when I get on a horse, which admittedly is very rare.
Yes.
But so you throwing it back to me, or where are you going with that?
I'll just share a little bit. There's so many great hymns. I mean, you can take Blessed Assurance, Rock of Ages, When We All Get to Heaven, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Oh my goodness.
But for me, Amazing Grace is where it's at.
Right. Is there anything that tingles your timbers more than bagpipes doing Amazing Grace?
I don't know if it's tingle my timbers or make every hair stand up. It's like cats.
It's a variation.
Fighting.
It's a variation.
It's
of
cats fighting,
and no one wins. But I was going to go with we're going to go old time. I'm going to go back to the 1500s and go with Martin Luther.
Wow.
And his penned version of "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God."
Oh wow.
I was going to go back to that because
I can hear the organ.
Exactly. That's where I was going because I grew up in an Episcopal church and we had a pipe organ, and you talking about power chords.
Wow.
Power chords.
That's heavy metal.
It was before heavy metal even thought about being heavy metal. Inagata DeVito had nothing on that. Had nothing on "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God." But that one on a pipe organ, you talk about it gets your attention.
Yes.
And so that renegade monk, Martin Luther.
If you're nodding off in the back pews,
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, you snap to attention.
That's right. So, but in terms of old time, relatively old time, I guess, 1800s, Beulah Land.
Ooh, I love that.
Something about Beulah Land. Of course, when I say something about Beulah Land, it's like anything that Alison Krauss sings.
Yeah.
Anything. She could sing the phone book.
Voice of an Angel.
It really is incredible.
One of the best versions of Beulah Land that I heard was by a fellow right here from Watauga County, John Bryan, who has made it big with the Grascals. Local boy that's done good. And boy, he's got one of the prettiest voices. We used to hear him. He used to come to our church and sing a lot. And it always treasure those memories. He was fantastic.
Speaking of soundtracks, of our music and soundtracks, Beulah Land, I don't think this is in the movie, but I think we should do a special segment of Anything Appalachia, and we'll talk about nothing but "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Oh, wow.
There's so much history. I watched a little bits of it recently. There's so many historical tie-ins to that movie, and there's so much backstory. I think we could do a whole. Let us know if that's something you'd be interested in. Just all the backstories to "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" I think it'd be fascinating.
I think so too. And while we're on that same vein of encouraging our audience, what's your favorite hymns? What are your favorite old time songs? Please post them in the comments below.
Better yet, record yourself singing them.
There you go. Or better yet, come sing them for us.
Right.
And we'll record them here in the Germain Media studio.
There you go. That's right.
That's a shout out to Rita. I know you're listening out there. You got to come sing for us some more.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
All right. Very good. So moving on, we talk about our audience.
That's right.
A great segue to talk about Patreon.
To our sponsorship. Today's podcast is sponsored by our audience members who have gone to patreon.com/Germain Media and made a contribution and show us support. These audience members recognize that all the free content that we share every day, virtually 7 days a week, is not free to produce.
We never sleep.
It can never. It costs Germain Media a considerable amount to produce all the videos, podcasts, and photographs that we so freely share. And they want to support our work and mission in preserving our rapidly disappearing Appalachian history. Would you consider becoming our patron and supporting our work? By going to patreon.com/Germain Media, you can donate as little as $1 a month and earn great rewards while supporting our work. There are strength in numbers. Social media has shown that. If only a small percentage of our audience will make a $1 a month donation, then we will have the resources to keep producing the great content that you have come to expect. Content that you can find nowhere else.
Nowhere else.
So please visit patreon.com/Germain Media and consider becoming our patron. We would truly appreciate it, and we can't do it without you. Thank you.
So thank you. All right. Moving on, I think we talk about our See and Say. We bring out the See and Say, which again has a mind of its own, which we think it's guided by there may be a spirit or something in here that guides this See and Say. I'm not sure, but so hold it up nice and tight.
Nice and tight. All right, everybody listen carefully. We have each of the animals on here, we have assigned a topic, something from Appalachian history, culture, people, places. And so whatever it says, we're just going to have a free riff on that. So here we go.
A pig.
A pig. I got that one.
We got right.
A pig says oink oink. All right, let's see what a pig corresponds to on the notes. Ooh.
Bacon.
Ooh, no, not bacon, not food. But it is a topic that we've not discussed before, and I don't know how we've avoided, but it's an important part of Appalachian history. Moonshine.
Nice.
Moonshine.
They used to say that up every holler in Appalachia, there was at least one fiddle player and one moonshine still.
That's right. One of each.
Probably the same guy. I'm thinking it was the same guy.
Well, we've done several shows on moonshine over the years, and the one lesson that I've taken away from it, is why it was produced here in the mountains. It wasn't made necessarily to drink and consume.
No.
It was made to sell. It was a way in a place and an economy where there are very few ways to earn cash money. There was very few ways to get your crop. If you had a mountaintop farm, way back yonder, and it was hard to get your crops to market, it was a way to get them in a manageable form, in a gallon jug or crock, and you could sell them for cash money. And that cash money was vital when you had to pay taxes. That was your tax money.
What was the quote from Poodle? Poodle Miller said, "You can't pay the electric bill with a bucket full of beans."
With a bucket full of beans. That's exactly right. And there's a lot of truth to that. And, every one of these counties has moonshine stories to them. I know Wilkes County, no disrespect, it calls itself the moonshine capital of the world. I know Floyd County over here in Virginia says the same thing. We've talked to a few old moonshiners here that say that Ashe County had its moment in time and certainly contributed to Wilkes' reputation. They got all the publicity, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I was going to say, you want to fly under the radar, don't you? Not that there was radar there, but if you want to fly under anything, it's under the nose of the revenueurs.
That's it.
And the feds.
Yeah, makes you think of the song Rocky Top.
Right.
Stranger went up to old Rocky Top.
Please, I'm not a Tennessee fan. So.
Well, here's a shout out to Nida Baker over in East Tennessee. She's going to have something to say to you next time we talk.
I've been to Knoxville too many times. I can't hear Rocky Top one more time. But moonshine is ethanol. I mean, it truly is. I mean, and that's the difference is you have to know how to distill it correctly or it can kill you.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other alcohols that are a part of that distillation process. But and getting back to your point about getting a bushel of corn off your farm into market, the ratio was around 3 or 4 bushels to 1 gallon of moonshine. Yeah. And you could get so much more
on a horse or in a wagon,
and so much more value not only was it economical in terms of concentrated form, but it was also it got you more money. It was more, you could sell it for more than corn.
Yeah, and it was a way to put shoes on your, when you're trying to feed your family and clothe your family, and you don't have a lot of options. Moonshine was a way that a lot of people did those things. And we heard one story in Allegheny County, Wilkes County, an old lady, a wonderful old lady told us, I think she was well into her 90s. And she talked about how, they as a family, they took that risk. And sure enough, the husband got arrested and went to jail. And I think the standard sentence was 6 to 7 years, I believe. And the family was struggling without the husband there to help provide. And she went to social services or the equivalent at that time to try to get help.
No help.
Nobody would help her. You know what she did?
She started making moonshine.
She started making moonshine, and that's how she raised 4 kids, and I think all 4 went to college.
And getting back to as we close, the NASCAR really was born of the moonshine because people would soup up their cars.
Yeah.
So why is it not called Shine Car instead of NASCAR?
That's a good question.
For the folks, you ask questions, we answer them. So I'm asking a question.
That's right.
Why is it NASCAR and not Shine Car?
Please share it in the comments below if you know.
So we move on to the question of the week.
Yes, which is kind of interesting considering the topic that we just covered. The question of the week is from Kevin in Purlear. Do you know where Purlear is?
I've been near Purlear, but I don't know if I've ever been to Purlear.
That's just a stone's throw off the mountain down in Wilkes County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hop, skip, and a jump.
Kevin in Purlear. And he asked, what are you guys drinking during the show?
Straight vodka.
Apple pie.
Yeah, just a vodka martini where you just say vermouth. It's very dry. Now, actually, I've got my own brew of coffee here.
Yes, I'm actually drinking water.
Which is a lot healthier.
It's a low-budget operation. Doesn't sound as exciting, but...
Well, and I'll tie this into to Anything Appalachia.
Sure.
Coffee was often sold in the green or the raw berry, if you will, or the bean.
Big 50-pound sacks of berries.
Yeah, and they would sell that. It was not roasted. They would sell it unroasted in the general stores, and you would take it home, and you would actually put it on the skillet and cook it on the wood stove. And then you put it in a bag, because there were no grinders, put it in a bag and take a hammer or a wooden stick or something
mallet,
and just beat it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of reminds me of cowboy coffee. You put it in the I'm losing
big percolator or
something like that. Really, just
coffee,
a pot, and just boil it on the stove.
Yeah,
and they would drink that stuff
strong enough to float a horseshoe.
Well, that's really Turkish coffee. That's how Turkish coffee is still made today.
Turkish coffee in Appalachia.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no telling where we're going to end up.
I don't know.
The influences here are everywhere.
Istanbul. We went all the way to Istanbul. We started with coffee. But I'll tell you this. I will admit to you right now, in front of everybody, that I am a coffee snob.
It is horrible.
Life's too short to drink cheap coffee. Come on, people.
Every time we go off the mountain, he's got to find a Starbucks.
Or a local roaster. This is actually from a roaster in Hickory. Shout out. A really nice greasy bean that I found over in Boone.
Awesome. I know my wife, who's also a fellow coffee snob along with you. I can't stand the stuff. She loves Bald Guy Brew from Boone.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful beans.
This is a Sumatran Ethiopian blend.
There
we go. We're all over the world again.
All over the world.
Well, most of the coffee beans that came into Appalachia back in the day were from Brazil.
Really?
So that was the first big coffee producing.
Yep, and they often mixed it with chicory to make it go further.
Oh, right. They would extend it.
Yeah,
right.
Especially coffee was expensive and chicory would grow around here.
Right. Not only that, but New Orleans, that's sort of the home of chicory coffee. And in fact, they still call that the New Orleans or the Nolans blend.
Sounds vile to
I
me.
can't stand chicory.
That wraps up another episode of Anything Appalachia.
But I'm wide awake now. I don't want to quit.
Thank you, Kevin, for that question.
Yep. Oh, what did Kevin get?
Kevin gets a hat and a shirt. He needs to let us know if he wants a blue one or a black one, and we'll get that out in the mail. If you would like to win a shirt or a hat, please submit your questions in the comments below. Mm-hmm. And if we answer them on air, you win too.
Okay. Well, thanks again for hanging out with us for another edition of Anything Appalachia. And join us next week. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Vimeo, YouTube, and did I miss one?
I think you got
I need
them
a
all.
list. Yes. But anyway, or just follow us down the street. It's all good. In the words of our good friend Mickey Pruitt, y'all have a good one.
See ya.
And holler if you need us.
Bye-bye.
That brings to a close another edition of the Anything Appalachia podcast, produced by Germain Media. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will tune in next time. Until then, here's hoping that you and yours are fine and dandy.